Hi everyone, today I'm here with my buddy Keisha, who you guys know. If you've watched my videos before, she's been in them before and she's always on my Instagram and Twitter and stuff. I will put all the links to Keisha below, by the way. You should follow her on Instagram because she's great. But if you're wondering who she is in relation, I've known Keisha since I was 4. Since we were both 4, we met at school and we've been like best friends ever since. And I'm in New York, which is where Keisha's currently living. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I'm doing a video a day, I thought, like, why not one of the days let's have a casual chatty video with Keish and talk about some subjects that I can never talk about because I don't have them. I haven't experienced them. And those subjects are long distance relationships.
Check.
And living abroad for work. Keisha lives in New York. She's from London, and her boyfriend lives in Jamaica.
Yeah.
So I asked you guys on Twitter to send me some questions. There are a few, but I thought I would just chat to Keish about some of these topics that you guys might also have. Yeah, you might be able to relate to, exactly. So first of all, tell them what you do for a job.
Okay, so I moved to New York to pursue modelling. I was doing it in London, but the market for me is better out here. It's just bigger, there's more opportunity, more jobs going, so that was my decision to come out here and try and get more work, really.
So when did you move to New York?
When did I move to New York?
I have no idea.
2012. I think 2011, 2012 was when I was sussing it out. I came here to scout a few agencies and then I signed with one. A year later I think I changed because it wasn't really working out, and then I've been here like 2013, 3 years, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about living abroad first before we do long distance relationships.
Okay.
So your first ever like stint, your first like when you moved to New York.
Yeah.
How was it? How did you feel?
Okay, so when I first came to New York, it was exciting as well as nerve-wracking. It was the same industry. I had experience in the modelling industry in London, but it was a different vibe. It's just different here in New York. Different level of professionalism and how you're perceived, and so I was had to come to terms with that.
Yeah. What about like your living arrangements? How did you figure out like where you were going to live?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Really?
I knew when I came here the first time, I was renting through a friend in Soho, like such an amazing area, but the building was a little bit old and it had mice.
Oh my god.
Do you know this?
Yeah, you told me.
And it was a futon, so I was like on the floor with the mice. It was rough. Then I came, and a few weeks later there was Hurricane Sandy.
Oh my god, I remember
So that killed the generator in my block. So all the power was gone, the phone service was gone, the gas, the heat, the hot water.
So how did you deal with all of this, like being here alone? By the way, Keisha doesn't really know people in New York. It's not like you have friends or family living here.
I have 3 friends now.
But like when you first came, you didn't know anyone. So you were alone with all of this.
So my good friend, who's also a model in London, Lall, she hooked me up with one of her model friends called DeVille. So you end up just being with other models, which is fine, but you kind of also want to broaden the horizon. Making friends is a bit difficult, but anyway.
So how did you, like, communication with home and stuff?
It's good. With technology and WhatsApp and FaceTime, it was always good. Like, I think I called you crying all the time, like you guys back at home, and texting. And I was homesick. It definitely was a bit of an adjustment for 6 months. And did you have a year?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I get really homesick, so I could never. But did you get into like a routine of when to phone people and?
No, you had. I mean, everyone's schedule is so different, plus the time difference. So once I'm kind of waking up, you might be in the middle of your day. When I'm in the middle of my day, you're kind of winding down. But sometimes you catch each other or you don't. So, and it sometimes days go when you just don't catch each other.
Yeah.
So it's not the worst thing because you can just text and you get a reply. But that real one-to-one time is a little bit difficult to schedule.
Do you find that you have to like adjust? Because I'm personally not like a massive talk on the phone kind of person. But you have to make that effort when when you don't live near someone.
But you do have more to talk about. Like you'd be like, oh, this crazy person in New York, this happened, and or there's a different job environment or something that happened. But also with my job, it's not working every day. So you have days when you're doing nothing or waiting for work or waiting for a casting. You're just like, what the hell do I do?
So what do you do? And how do you deal with like, do you get lonely ever? How do you deal with that?
There was a lot of loneliness, but you just have to like embrace it and find stuff to do, whether it's reading or I did working out. I love to work out and go to the gym. And that was my kind of escape and switch off and keep me busy, as well as helping me in my career, because you kind of have to keep fit, look good, whatever. Then I started cooking. I'm not the best chef, but I would just start cooking instead of like ordering in. You pick up little habits, I think. And
excuse the sirens in the
Yeah.
background. It's New York.
is that guy naked in his window?
How long did it take you to get used to like a different city? Because obviously if you're from London, you know how the tube works, you know where everything is.
I think it's quite good coming from London to New York because you have the subway, so you're similar and it's easy to get around. Whereas I was recently in Miami and I thought, okay, there's kind of a market here, but how would I get around? There's no real very good transport. I'm sure the bus is fine, but it's not as easy and not what I'm used to, like the subway.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to get around here in New York, and it was okay. Yeah, I adjusted quite well.
Yeah.
And it's the city's easy. It's like a grid.
Yeah,
So
it is. It's a good city to move to.
yeah.
And also, apart from just like the emotional side and mentality side of living and moving abroad, there's actually like the logistical side of it. And working abroad, you can't just go somewhere and work. So
Yeah.
can you explain like a bit about how you...
So you have to come in on a working visa, and now whichever one you qualify and get is sponsored by your employee.
Okay.
So your employer.
Yeah.
So the agency did all the legal work for me, and I'm now on a visa to work here, and it's like valid for 3 years.
Okay.
And then you renew or whatever. But trying to find an apartment, it was like a catch-22. I had to get an apartment, I had to have a bank account. But to get a bank account, I had to have an address. How are you going to have one without the other?
So what did you do in the end?
I think I paid them off. I didn't really know the neighbourhoods when I first came in, so I went to... Oh, this is what happened. So in Sandy, all the power cut and everything, so I went to another friend of a friend who lived in Midtown, and we stayed in her apartment, and I ended up moving to that apartment block because I kind of knew it, and it was busy and it felt safe and it was okay. But then I hated it because it's like living on the equivalent of Oxford Street.
So like in a really busy shopping area.
Tourist. It was Macy's straight opposite. It was just too much. I lived there for 2 years.
So why do you think that the difference between living in like a busy place, how do you think that like affected you? Because now Keisha's moved to somewhere that's quieter and a bit more residential.
Yeah, I just think it was a bit weird because you walk outside and there's so many people, hundreds, thousands of people, and then you go up to your room and you're just alone. So I think that contrast was just kind of like thrown in my face, and it was just a bit like there's so much going on outside, but there's nothing going on like with me or around me.
So now
Plus you went to my place and it was a bit grim.
Yeah.
It was just dark. There was no like daylight, and I think that was a factor as well with not enjoying where I was going home to. Like I didn't really make it homely. I didn't put any things on the wall.
So it's important to make somewhere feel quite homely. Yeah, that's a good question. Like how do you make, like, is a home just where your stuff is, or do you have to make it a certain way? So what sort of things have you done, or do you find that helps make a place more homely?
I think if you have a good knack for it,
it's like an atmosphere, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a vibe.
I kind of had the mentality of like, oh, I'm here to work and I'm just going to work and my life isn't here. But in reality, my life was here, but I didn't really accept it. For 2 years.
That's true, and I remember it was always like Keisha's temporarily in New York, but then you were always in New York. It's like you were just on holiday.
Yeah.
So once you actually accepted that you lived here,
which
you
I think
started
has
enjoying
only happened now.
Yeah, like seriously. I mean, we'll talk about Jamaica in a minute, but going back and forth, London, Jamaica, New York, you never really had a hub.
No.
Whereas now, this is the first time I've visited Keisha since she's moved, and you have a different attitude towards it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about long distance relationships. Keisha's boyfriend lives in Jamaica.
Yeah, we met in Jamaica.
You met in Jamaica.
Yeah,
you don't have to go.
friend.
You don't have to go into detail on how you met, but they met through a friend.
Yeah.
So that's quite intense. Like having a long distance relationship is quite intense anyway. But you're also not at home.
Yeah.
You're away from home and he's there. So you've basically got like 3 locations you're dealing with here. So we actually have lots of questions.
Yeah, thanks for the questions.
Let's start with those and see where they take us. Beehive76548 said, how do you remain focused on your work abroad when you're missing your loved one? And that's a good question because you're here for work. So how do you kind of concentrate on that when you just miss your boyfriend all the time?
I kind of use that as my focus as to why I'm here. I'm here to earn money, to set myself up in a certain way so that I can be with him, so that we can be together. But you just, I mean, I've done the whole, oh, I'm going to be like here for 6 more months, and then if it doesn't work, it's not going to happen. I'm going to be here for 3 more months, and then I'm going to be with you. But you just have to keep rolling with it.
How long have you been together for?
4 years this August.
Okay, so a long time.
Yeah. But now I'm kind of set, like, I'm just here for the year. Like, I'm just going to do it and see where it goes. If it goes into next year, it goes into next year.
And do you find, I'm just going to, like, whenever I think of a question, I'm just going to shout it out. Do you tend to think and talk about the future or just focus on what's going on now?
No, we always kind of, every time we reconnect, we're like, so what's going on with us? And also with people like this one getting engaged, and my friends moving in with their boyfriends, getting engaged, marriage, you know, no pregnancies yet, but everything's happening around me. So I'm a bit like, oh, I want to be there. And I'm not. I can be, but I'm not. But that is my choice. That is our choice as well.
Yeah.
But that's also something in me. It's the type of person I am. I don't want to move prematurely to Jamaica and then be resentful that I didn't really give modelling a good shot. So you have to kind of be strong and be true to yourself, as cheesy as it sounds, because you might end up resenting it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good, yeah, so you're just...
As painful as it is, like it's bleeping hard.
Yeah.
You just have to like use it as the oomph to really drive you.
So your situation is a bit different. I guess a lot of long distance relationships might be because you met online, or that person has to go away for work, and I guess they've got to make that decision where they end up. But you're here for work. Your home is London,
Yeah.
so...
But now I have to make my home here.
Yeah, so it's weird because you
I
kind of
still
have
say
3
London's
choices.
home.
You have 3 choices, basically.
Yeah. But I make it hard on myself. I could be modelling. There's a perfectly fine market in London where there's family and friends and home, right? But no, I just choose to be here. It's
Well.
nearer Jamaica, so me and him are on the same time difference, and we met up in Miami last week, and it's like I can fly there, I can fly here. It's nearer and cheaper and quicker. But
That's a good point. So how, when you were in London, because you've been in London and been with him,
Yeah.
so how do you deal with like the time difference?
that's really hard because it's like 9 hours time difference.
Yeah.
9? No, wait, 9 hour flight. 5 or 6-hour time difference.
So one of you's always tired or something.
Yeah, I mean, we go days without speaking because we're not coordinating well. But I have you guys, so I'm like, you're right. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just with the bill.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's harder when you're somewhere
Alone.
where you're alone.
Yeah,
Because there's so much pressure on that person chatting to you and entertaining you.
yeah.
There isn't anything to fall back on.
Mm.
But he's at home,
He's at home.
so that's different.
Yeah, I hate him for it. 'Cause I'm like, you don't even know. You have your family and friends.
So if you do have arguments, all couples have arguments, very
Always.
normal. How do you deal with having an argument and not being face to face?
It's horrible.
Yeah, because
you
how
just
do you...
want to be like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh my god.
But you can't.
I'm never like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like...
so horrible. No, when you've resolved it. When you resolved it,
yeah.
right? When you're not talking about it.
And that's like,
or...
Rich storms out, so probably a long distance relationship would be great for me and Rich, because he's such a stormer outer, and I'm like, oh
No
god,
way,
he's gone off in a huff again. Yeah, he is.
funny.
So how do you resolve arguments if it's like all on the phone and stuff? What if you're literally, okay, imagine you're in the middle of a huge row, what happens next? Does someone hang up, or how does it work?
Sometimes I hang up. Sometimes if it's by text, my tone is just like, oh, she's angry.
Oh, text tone, that's
Text
another
tone.
thing to
Text
talk
tone
about
is
in a
so
minute.
bad. But our arguments come from a place of love. I think it's more like bickering because we miss each other.
Yeah.
So
You mind yourselves of that.
yeah.
Like, we're just arguing because we miss each other.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I can just be out of line and just pick a fight because I do's. Yeah, I think it's just bickering and like, why haven't you responded to me? You know, this is at the early stages as well. He would like be reading the text on WhatsApp but not replying.
Ooh.
So given the time difference, and this is like when I was in London, or mainly even in New York, he has his own business, so he's like working constantly and very hard, and so read the text and not reply. I'm like, look, are you in the relationship or you're not? Because you're making me feel needy, and I'm the one putting all the effort in. And I was like, it's a two-way thing. No. It was just like, so it wasn't me. It wasn't how I
it's
am.
hard. Like, you get like...
You have to find the balance as well, the dynamics to a relationship, let alone a long-distance relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hard as it is, throw like thousands of miles between you.
So how do you avoid that? Because like even in normal life, I feel like text, the tone of her voice is so misunderstood.
Yeah.
And sometimes I send a text and I'm like, oh, that sounds so rude, and I didn't even mean it at all.
And also if you're
You
not
read
in the
it
right
wrong way.
mood to read it.
Yeah, you read it in a
If
way
he
that
wants
you
to
would
be
want to
sarky
interpret.
and I'm like in a bad mood, I'd be like, just don't start.
Yeah. I mean, is
I
there
don't
anything you
know.
can do to avoid that? Or
No,
you
I
just
mean,
get used to each other's tone?
you get used to it, but you also have to take a minute and just be like, is it worth reacting the way I was going to, or should I just not?
Hannah said, I've been in a long distance relationship, but every time we say bye, my heart breaks. Any tips to make the distance seem less?
No. It's the worst thing, saying goodbye.
Something I've noticed though, since being in New York with Keisha, is that you guys you don't necessarily have one big chat a day. You kind of just call each other every now and again.
I can't call him. That's so frustrating as well. My phone doesn't call Jamaica. His phone calls US numbers free.
Oh.
You know how annoying that is?
So that's why he calls you quite a lot.
Yeah, he always calls
because
me. Yeah,
Keisha's like, hi. We're just walking down the street. In my head, at 7 o'clock, she'd sit down and they'd have a long, deep chat. But actually, she's walking down the street, Broadway, hey, how's your day? And I'm like, this is such a strange place to have a catch up. I guess you have to make it
Don't
casual.
you do that in a normal relationship?
Yeah, I guess. But
so you call in the middle of a day and just whatever.
Well, Rich calls me every day at 12 when he's on his lunch break, and I answer and go, Rich, I'm working, I can't talk right now. I'm so mean. But yeah, I guess most couples do. But I just didn't expect that. From a long distance, I thought it was going to be an epic hourly chat once a day.
No,
and it's
don't
more
really
just
have much
casual.
To say, yeah. I was telling Bill that we want each other's company, so we kind of FaceTime and would stream a film or a TV program together.
So you don't have to necessarily talk, you're just there together.
We're just there, together.
That's really sweet.
Thank God for FaceTime, I'm telling you. I don't know if it's a tip, but what helps me is kind of when I'm leaving him or when we're leaving each other, have something to look forward to. So for yourself. So when I was leaving him from Miami, I was like, oh my God, Lily's coming next week. That's great. So I wasn't focused on just back to being apart again. And, maybe if it's tiny, oh, I'm going to be a geek here. Captain America, Marvel Civil War is coming out. I'm going to go watch it.
So Emily's asked reunion anxiety advice. I haven't seen my boyfriend for 14 months as he's been travelling. Nervous about seeing him again.
Oh my God, that sucks.
That's a long time. And also I reckon for new long distance relationships, it can be a bit ooh, is it going to be awkward? Or do I look alright? Have you ever had that?
No, I did.
Yeah.
I had I used to get butterflies landing.
Oh.
And then walking out of customs, and I would just be so smiley, have so much teeth on show. I just be and then shaky, a bit dry mouth. I was really nervous when I first started seeing him. And then...
But then as soon as you, does it go away, or is it just the
Yeah, it's a bit small talky. I remember it being how was the trip? And now it's what's up?
So it's now when you see each other, is it a big reunion, or is it hey?
He's not very PDA.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm ooh, snuggle muffin.
What are you hey?
No, I want to be jump on you, hug, kiss, whatever. And he's okay.
Amazing.
We talk so much as well that it doesn't feel like we have so much to catch up on. It's just being in each other's company, then we'll just hold hands. It's just that kind of physical being next to each other.
That's nice. But I think we're probably going to wrap up this video now. If you do want to follow Keisha and her travels and modelling and relationship and good-looking bikini photos in Jamaica, which will make you feel depressed, follow her on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat. I'll link them all below and stuff. And thanks for being in my video. We're going to go out for dinner tonight. Oh, it's nice being here. I'm going home tomorrow. Nice. Sad times, sad times. How will you deal with it when I leave?
I'm going to go watch Marvel Civil War.
See you guys soon. Bye.